Welcome everyone and get ready for an incredible journey into the fascinating world of rare coins, where a small piece of copper that you might overlook in your change jar could actually be worth millions of dollars, because today we are diving deep into the story of the astonishing 1985 1-cent coin, a coin that has stunned collectors and enthusiasts alike by being valued at an unbelievable $16 million, not because it is made of gold or encrusted with jewels, but because of the rare and fascinating errors and mistakes it carries, the very quirks and anomalies that make it one of the most desirable and valuable coins in existence. So in this deep exploration we are going to unravel why this humble 1985 penny commands such an extraordinary price, what errors make it so exceptional, how those errors happened in the first place, and the endless possibilities that turn ordinary coins into treasures worth a fortune, because when it comes to coin collecting, the smallest details can mean the difference between face value and a life-changing windfall. And the 1985 1 cent is a shining example of how a tiny sliver of history can be transformed by minting mishaps, human error, and the quirks of mass production into something utterly unique. So let's start by picturing this coin in your mind. A 1985 Lincoln cent bearing the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, minted during an era when the composition of pennies had already shifted from mostly copper to a copper-plated zinc core in 1982. Meaning the 1985 issue was produced with that delicate copper coating over zinc, a change that in itself created new possibilities for errors because the different metals reacted differently during minting, leading to problems like plating blisters, peeling, and even off-color toning. Now the story of this particular multi-million-dollar coin begins with its most dramatic error, a rare double-die obverse wear. The doubling is so extreme that Lincoln's profile, the date, and the inscriptions "Liberty" and "I in God We Trust" appear almost like a shadowed, ghostly duplicate, a misalignment in the die preparation process that caused the design to be impressed twice at slightly different angles, creating a mesmerizing and rare visual effect that collectors go wild for. And because only a tiny fraction of the total mintage ever left the mint with such a dramatic doubling, examples in pristine condition are like finding a needle in a haystack. But that's not the only thing at play here, because this 1985 1 cent also exhibits a broad strike error, where the coin was struck without a retaining collar, allowing it to expand beyond its normal diameter while still showing a complete design, giving it a slightly flattened and stretched appearance that makes it instantly stand out from regular cents. And to make matters even more unusual, this coin's planchet, the blank disc of metal before striking, wasn't perfectly round to begin with, leading to a subtle but noticeable off-center strike that further sets it apart from typical errors. Now when you start stacking errors like this, their rarity compounds exponentially, meaning the chances of finding a coin with a double die obverse, broad strike, and off-center strike all in one piece are astronomically low. And yet this coin also boasts die cracks, tiny raised lines on the surface caused by fractures in the die that transferred their shape to the coins they struck. These cracks often create intriguing patterns, sometimes even resembling extra design elements, and in this particular case, one die crack forms a line extending from Lincoln's coat toward the rim, almost like an intentional engraving, making the piece even more distinctive. And then there's the striking anomaly with its coloration, because the copper plating over the zinc core has developed an unusual reddish-gold tone in some areas, the result of uneven heating during the annealing process or possibly even a chemical reaction over decades, creating a natural toning pattern that is unique to this coin alone. And seasoned collectors know that while toning can sometimes be a detriment, in cases where it enhances eye appeal without obscuring detail, it can actually increase a coin's desirability and therefore its value, especially when combined with dramatic errors. So imagine all of these factors together, a coin from 1985 with a perfect storm of minting mishaps. Each one rare on its own but together forming a numismatic unicorn, a one-of-a-kind artifact that encapsulates the unpredictability and artistry hidden in the minting process. And of course, the condition of the coin is critical because even the rarest error loses value if it is badly worn. But this penny has been preserved in near pristine condition, possibly never having circulated, with sharp details, vibrant luster, and only the most minimal handling marks, all of which push it into the upper echelons of the grading scale, making it not just rare in type but rare in state. And when such a coin comes to market, the laws of supply and demand go into overdrive, with wealthy collectors, investors, and museums competing fiercely to own it, driving prices to levels that seem almost absurd to the uninitiated, which is exactly how a 1985 1 cent can end up selling for $16 million. And beyond the sheer thrill of the auction room, coins like this hold a deeper fascination, because they are tangible time capsules, carrying not just the design chosen by the mint but also the unintended fingerprints of the minting process itself. From mechanical slips to human oversight, each error tells a story of how this little disc of metal defied the odds and escaped into the world instead of being melted down or discarded during quality control. And for collectors, that combination of beauty, rarity, history, and mystery is irresistible. So when we talk about possibilities, we have to acknowledge that errors can take many forms: double strikes, off-metal strikes where the coin is struck on a planchet meant for another denomination, clipped planchets where part of the blank is missing, die caps where the coin sticks to the die and stamps its distorted image onto the next blank, and more. And while the 1985 penny in question doesn't have every possible error, the ones it does have are among the most dramatic and desirable. And in the broader picture, stories like this remind us that coins are more than just currency. They are tiny works of art, feats of engineering, and sometimes, when the machinery hiccups, they become accidental masterpieces, and it is these masterpieces that can turn pocket change into multi-million-dollar treasures, proving that even in our modern era, where coins are mass-produced by the billions, the element of chance still has the power to create wonders. So next time you come across a penny, especially from the 1980s, take a closer look. You never know if you might be holding a piece of history with errors that could change your life, because as the legend of the 1985 1 cent worth $16 million proves, extraordinary value can be hiding in the most ordinary of places, and that's why collectors will keep searching, studying, and cherishing these remarkable anomalies, driven by the hope that they too might stumble upon a coin with the rare blend of mistakes, beauty, and preservation that turns copper-plated zinc into a small fortune. Next. Now in this episode we are going to unravel the captivating story of the 1995 1 cent coin, a humble penny in appearance but carrying an astounding value of $3 million because of the remarkable and rare errors and mistakes that have transformed it from an ordinary copper-plated zinc coin into a collector's dream. And as we explore the details you will understand why a small piece of metal minted 3 decades ago has captured the attention of coin enthusiasts, historians, and investors alike, starting with the historical background of the 1995 penny, which was produced at the United States Mint during a period when modern minting technology was fairly advanced yet still vulnerable to certain mechanical and human errors, and this year in particular has become famous among collectors for one of the most well-known error varieties in American coinage, the 1995 double die obverse penny, an error so visually striking that it can be spotted even without magnification because the doubling on the date and especially on the inscription "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" is bold and obvious, a result of a misalignment during the hubbing process where the coin die receives its design in multiple impressions, and if the hub and die are not perfectly aligned for each impression, a doubling effect is created. And while double dies are known for several years and denominations, the 1995 version gained fame because thousands entered circulation before the mint detected the problem. But even among these known examples, there are extreme cases where the doubling is more pronounced, crisper, and combined with other minting mishaps, creating a perfect storm for high valuation, and it is in this realm of extreme rarity where the $3 million figure emerges, because while a common 1995 double die might fetch a few hundred or even a few $1,000s depending on condition, a specimen with additional rare features skyrockets in value, and in one extraordinary case, the 1995 penny not only exhibited the dramatic double die on the obverse but also had a unique die crack stretching across Lincoln's portrait, a slight off-center strike that left part of the design near the rim incomplete, and microscopic planchet flaws such as retained die chips and lamination peels, all of which contributed to making it a unique one-of-a-kind piece. And collectors understand that when a coin is both visually dramatic and singular in its combination of errors, its desirability and therefore value can climb into the millions, especially when preserved in an uncirculated state with blazing original luster, minimal contact marks, and certification from a top-tier grading service labeling it as a high mint state grade with the full error details documented. And in the case of the $3 million 1995 penny, provenance also played a role because it was discovered in an unusual way by a collector who had been searching through sealed Federal Reserve bags of cents, making it a well-documented find with a chain of custody traceable back to its discovery, which matters greatly to high-end collectors and investors who want assurance of authenticity. And beyond the famous double die, other errors from 1995 pennies also intrigue collectors, including broad strikes where the coin was struck without the collar and thus spread outward creating a wider than normal appearance, off-metal strikes where a cent design was accidentally struck on a foreign planchet intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coin, wrong planchet errors where a cent was struck on dime stock creating a smaller thinner coin with incorrect weight, multiple strike errors where the coin was struck more than once in the press leading to overlapping designs, and even the rare uniphase strike where one side of the coin is blank because it was struck against another planchet rather than the die, and in the high-value realm, sometimes it is the combination of such errors in a single specimen that transforms it from merely rare to historically significant, and with 1995 pennies, the allure is not only in the mechanical errors but also in their connection to a notable era in modern U.S. numismatics when public awareness of such errors increased due to media coverage, leading to a surge in error coin collecting. And while millions of 1995 pennies were struck normally at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, the few that escaped with dramatic minting flaws became a testament to the unpredictability of even the most automated processes, with coin press machinery operating at incredible speed producing hundreds of coins per minute, where a fraction of a millimeter misalignment or a split-second timing issue during hubbing could create a double die, and similarly, a foreign object like a fragment of another planchet entering the striking chamber could create striking anomalies such as die caps or brockages, all of which have been observed in 1995 cents in various forms. And the $3 million figure is often cited for the most pristine, unique, and dramatic example known, not because every 1995 double die or error penny is worth anywhere near that, but because in the niche market of elite collectors, money flows toward the rarest and most visually impressive specimens, sometimes with competitive bidding driving prices far beyond initial estimates. And it's important to understand the grading process here because for such coins condition is everything, with factors like strike sharpness, luster, color, and absence of wear playing huge roles in final valuation, and many 1995 error cents found in circulation show wear from years of handling, diminishing their value, while the true jackpot coins are those that survived untouched, often because they were pulled from circulation early by a sharp-eyed collector or remained sealed in mint sets until rediscovery years later. And beyond the physical attributes, the market psychology also matters because when a coin has a story, like being the first major double die of the modern zinc cent era to be widely recognized, it gains a legacy that adds intangible value, making it a trophy piece for someone who wants to own a chapter of U.S. minting history. And in the case of the $3 million specimen, the story includes its rarity, its stunning combination of errors, its flawless state of preservation, its traceable history, and the sheer visual impact of its doubling and other anomalies, making it stand out even among famous error coins. And this is why today, if you are checking your change or searching rolls from the bank, understanding the markers of a 1995 double die penny and other rare errors could one day lead you to an extraordinary find, though the odds are slim. But as history shows, lightning does strike for some lucky collectors, and the thrill of the hunt is part of what keeps numismatics so engaging. And if you ever come across a coin that looks unusual, especially with doubling on the lettering, or a misaligned or partial design, it's worth having it examined by a reputable coin dealer or sending it to a grading service, because while most errors are minor, every now and then, you might just be holding a multi-million-dollar piece of history in the palm of your hand. Just like the legendary 1995 1-cent coin that turned an ordinary day for one collector into a life-changing discovery and cemented its place as one of the most valuable pennies ever known. Continuing to inspire both seasoned collectors and newcomers to look just a little closer at the change they receive every day, because you truly never know what treasures are still out there waiting to be found in the most unexpected places. And this endless possibility is why stories like this will always captivate the imagination of coin lovers around the world and remind us that sometimes the smallest things can carry the biggest value both in history and in dollars. Last. Today's deep dive is all about the 2017 P1 cent coin, a coin that in most people's minds is just another ordinary penny worth a single cent, but in certain rare cases, because of unusual and extraordinary minting errors and mistakes, it can command a staggering value of $900,000 in the collector's market, making it one of the most astonishing modern minting anomalies of recent years. And to understand why this is so valuable, we first need to set the stage with some history, because 2017 was a significant year in U.S. numismatics, marking the first and only time in history that the Philadelphia Mint placed its P mint mark on the 1-cent coin in honor of the mint's 225th anniversary, a decision that instantly made every 2017 P penny unique compared to all other modern cents struck in Philadelphia. And while billions were produced, the fact that this mint mark appeared for only a single year gave it an inherent collectability from the start. But as with all mass production, especially in high-speed coin presses churning out hundreds of coins per minute, the possibility of minting errors was inevitable, and it is within this narrow window that the rarest and most valuable varieties emerged, including dramatic double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, die chips, misaligned dies, partial collars, planchet flaws, and combinations of these that have led to jaw-dropping prices. And in the case of the most famous and valuable known example, the $900,000 2017 penny. It wasn't just one error that elevated its status but an extremely rare combination of multiple mistakes on a coin in pristine mint state condition, starting with a major double die obverse that resulted from a misalignment during the hubbing process where the design was imparted to the die in more than one impression without perfect alignment, causing obvious and dramatic doubling in the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust, and even in the numerals of the date, 2017, doubling so bold that it could be seen with the naked eye and considered one of the most dramatic modern double dies known. But this was only the beginning because the same coin also had a noticeable off-center strike, shifted about 10 to 15% so that part of the design was missing on one side and the rim was thick and uneven. And in addition there were planchet flaws such as a retained lamination peel on the reverse where a thin layer of the copper plating had begun to separate from the zinc core, creating an unusual surface texture. And to top it off, the coin also featured a die crack running across Lincoln's head into the field, forming what collectors sometimes call a cud when the crack extends to the rim, and the reverse had a small die chip inside one of the letters of United States of America, all of which together made this a one-of-a-kind error specimen. And when such a coin is found in immaculate uncirculated condition with full mint luster and no signs of circulation wear, it becomes a trophy piece for serious collectors, especially when authenticated and graded by a top-tier service like PCGS or NGC at an ultra-high mint state level. And in the rare coin market, it's the combination of rarity, visual appeal, condition, and historical significance that drives the most intense bidding wars. And the $900,000 2017 penny hit all of those marks because it represented the first ever mint mark cent, a one-year type coin, struck with multiple dramatic mint errors, and preserved in perfect condition, with provenance tracing back to its original discovery in a sealed Federal Reserve bag of 2017 cents just days after release, ensuring authenticity and adding to its mystique. And beyond this particular example there are other 2017 pennies with valuable errors that collectors should know about, including more common double dies with lighter doubling on the date or lettering, off-center strikes ranging from a few percent to extreme 50% strikes where part of the coin is blank, broad strikes without the collar that caused the coin to spread outward, wrong planchet strikes where the cent design was accidentally struck on dime stock or even on a planchet intended for a foreign coin, multiple strike errors where the coin was struck more than once and the images overlap, and partial collar strikes that create a railroad rim effect. And while these are not worth hundreds of thousands like the most famous example, they can still bring hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on the severity of the error and the coin's condition. And what makes the 2017 especially interesting to collectors is that its status as a one-year issue means even minor errors are more desirable than they might otherwise be, and combined errors, such as a double die with an off-center strike, are extremely rare and valuable. And understanding the production process helps explain how such errors occur, with the Philadelphia Mint using high-speed presses to produce billions of coins, each requiring perfectly prepared planchets, properly aligned dies, and precise timing. And when even the smallest variation occurs, whether due to worn dies, loose die bolts, foreign debris in the striking chamber, or a misfeed of the planchet, the result can be an error coin. And because the mint operates under tight quality control, most major errors are caught and destroyed, but a few escape, and those that make it into circulation become instant prizes for sharp-eyed collectors. And the 2017 historical importance amplifies the impact of these escapes, and as with all high-value coins, condition is paramount because a coin with these errors that has been in circulation and shows where will be worth far less than one in pristine mint state, and that is why searching through bank rolls or freshly issued mint sets can yield the best chances of finding a valuable specimen. And in the rare coin market, provenance and publicity can also drive prices higher, and in the case of the $900,000 example, its discovery made headlines in numismatic circles, adding to its fame and desirability, and it now serves as a reminder that even modern coins, often dismissed as too common to be valuable, can hold incredible surprises if they are the product of unusual circumstances. And for collectors today, knowing the markers of a valuable 2017 era coin, bold doubling, noticeable mistrikes, unusual die breaks, plating flaws, is key to recognizing treasure when it passes through your hands, because although the odds are slim, the possibility remains that somewhere in circulation, another extraordinary example could be waiting to be found. And every time a collector uncovers even a small error, it fuels the excitement and passion for the hunt, proving that this hobby is as much about curiosity and persistence as it is about luck. And the story of the $900,000 2017 penny will continue to inspire that hunt for years to come, reminding us all that the most ordinary objects can sometimes carry extraordinary value and that the thrill of discovery is just a pocketful of change away.